Hi everyone, and welcome back. Tom Slivick with Supervisor Richard Forster.
Hey, Tom.
How you doing, Supervisor
Good.
Richard Forster? I'm
Nice.
thinking like I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, nice weather over the weekend. Getting a little warm now, but you know what? It's time of year. A lot of people enjoy it.
Sure do.
Time of year for us. It's hot outside, and it's hot regarding the budget.
Yeah, this is budget time, right?
Yeah, we talked about that a little off the air, but you know, I understand the union's position that we do have a large amount of money in our carry forward and in our reserves, but what we're looking at too is the amount of money that's been diminishing over the last couple of years. We've gone from a carry forward of 4.7 to 2.4 over about the last 3 years. Well, we're eating ourselves basically to survive. So we're not laying people off. We're trying to keep everybody employed. But, you know, we're down over $2 million in that pot full of money that we have. So our reserves, our carry forwards all together are minus $2 million. And also we need that carry forward to get through the first 3 to 4 months of the year when we have no revenue coming in from the state. So we don't start getting that revenue until about late November, December. And I think the union understands that. And I think they understand it's prudent budgeting. At the same time, they don't want to lay 21 people off. We don't either. If we get that $1.5 million, which 1.1 would come to the county, 400,000 to the cities, if we get that and have some reasonable assurance we're going to get it, then we won't be in a position to lay people off.
Okay, and I guess as our story reported, though, the county also has to pay the defense of the five suspects in the murder trial at the Carbondale marijuana.
Actually, it's looked at as two cases. We have one murder case of a gentleman and his mother, and then the other case has, I think, 5 defendants and one person that was murdered. So it's looked at as two cases, but still, we would have to pay the defense of all of those people if they were taken, if it was taken as a capital murder case. Yes, and that's why we have a major concern and why we have those potfuls of money there. If we have a catastrophic failure at the landfill, well, similar to what happened in Tuolumne County years ago, $8 million to fix that. We don't want to be left, we would be left in a bad position if that happened, but we don't want to be left in a worse position. So, you know, we're looking at, though, trying to preserve those positions, all the positions except for...
It's not prudent not to have some sort of a reserve.
That's right. And the other thing is there are some positions that may not be around after we're all said and done. We are slow in the county. There's not a lot of building going on. So that has to be looked at. Any business out there, if their business is going down, they're going to be looking at their employee positions and saying, why do I have so many employees? So it's a tough situation. We don't want to lay any employees off. We're looking at that deal with the state. We're going in with the Allison Huber, her bill that's sponsored to preserve it for 5 years. The money that was basic aid going to be lost. So hopefully we get that passed. That's coming up on Wednesday for a hearing.
Okay.
So we could use people's support on that.
And of course that's dependent on the governor's budget being passed.
Well, the separate issue is the governor has plugged in the 1.5 for the budget year. So we would be reimbursed for one cycle. Going forward, though, they have said, they put specific language in the budget that this is not an ongoing, basically saying it's not a perpetual type of funding. So we'll have to fight for that every year. Okay. There's other counties that may fall into the basic aid situation too. That's actually going to complement it because it's going to make the amount that's being asked of the state even higher.
It would seem like the only way out of this thing is to somehow get another school system.
Not really, because even if we had 2 school districts in our county, they both might be basic aid because the economy is in such bad shape.
Catch-22.
That's right. Well, that's why other counties that have multiple districts are going this direction. Napa, Solano, Mono, the one that was with us for a while, and they dropped out of basic aid. But there are other counties that may go basic aid. We're trying not even to mention that right now, except for here, because the state doesn't want to hear that. The budget analyst, the LAO's office, does not want to hear that, because that's just another pot of money that's going to be asked for from the state. And speaking of, I want to hit one thing. One thing specifically, though. Well, 2 things actually, before we run out of time. Again tomorrow, This year it's coming up with the Board of Supervisors, the salary increase from 35 to 40%. We have, I think, for the last 3 years, we voted to delay that for 1 year. Now, actually, that was the original plan, was to go from 25% to 40% of the Superior Court judge's salary. We have delayed that for 3 years now. We're going to delay it again this year. I talked to Chairman Boitano. Who knows whether we're going to make it just 1 year or multiple, but the thought is to just do it every year and keep doing it as long as we need to do it. With the health of our state and the health of our economy, we don't see any foreseeable time in the future where there's going to be any pay raise granted. But this was done by ordinance, so by ordinance we have to extend it.
That's a very large percentage, so it probably wouldn't certainly doesn't sound good to voters
No.
and to the community at all.
Well,
right?
we have to take the action, though, because it was originally done by ordinance. So, anyway, that's my thought. It just keeps coming back, and every time people hear about a pay raise, well, we're not giving ourselves a pay raise. We're delaying that pay raise that was voted by ordinance. Another issue brought to us by, I believe, the Kern County Board of Supervisors is the transfer of the off-highway vehicle local assistance funds to state parks. Now, sure, it sounds like a good idea. This was initiated in our state legislature by two of my favorite legislators, Semidian and Evans. Senator Evans also sat on the Senate Budget Committee, and she is the one that basically had no inclination at all to give us any relief on the basic aid issue. When explained to her that this was done in 1984, it was never anticipated that the economy would get so bad. She said, well, I wasn't here in 1984. What kind of attitude is that of a state legislator? And she is the one that's proposing this to shift all of those monies for off-highway vehicles, which severely hurts our counties and the rural counties, especially with forest lands nearby. But even she represents some areas in Santa Rosa that I'm sure they have a lot of parks, but they got to have some areas for off-highway vehicles too. Some state legislators just don't get it. That's what it comes down to.
Okay, quickly, Richard, how about the TOT discussion?
That's going to be interesting because, as you know, the one that's been cited is Tuolumne County, that they had a second vote and a second bite at the apple on campground sites and things like that. Well, that failed in Tuolumne County. So I think a lot of the people are rethinking that and maybe just going back to saying, well, we don't want to include campsites now. But you know what? They're going to have to run a campaign here. They're going to have to raise money, and they're going to have to run a campaign if they want any chance of getting this passed. If they're not going to do that, there's no use even trying. The Business Council chair said that, or executive director Jim Conklin said that, well, we think we can get it done for $5,000. I have my extreme doubts about that, and I'm not even sure about placing it on the ballot if they're not going to put in the effort.
Okay, Richard, good talking with you.
All right, Tom.
And stay with us. More news on the other side of the break.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.